galera, tudo bem? Today's video is gonna be really fun. My friend Thomas, who lives all the way on the other side of the United States, down in Arizona, and I decided to get together to film a video as two gringos who have both learned Portuguese, and now we teach English to Brazilians, to talk about our language learning journey and why we learned Portuguese and how we learned Portuguese and a bunch of stuff in between. So today's video is going to be really educational, it's going to be really fun. So whether you're learning Portuguese or thinking about maybe starting to learn Portuguese, or maybe you're Brazilian and you just want to know why a couple of gringos would have wanted to learn Portuguese, then stay tuned because this video is for you.
Oi, Amanda, muito obrigado. Thank you for the invite to do this video together. I'm excited to talk a little bit about my experience with Portuguese. I hope everybody out there is having a great experience with Portuguese themselves. Olá, gente, muito prazer. So first, why did I learn Portuguese? So it's a pretty simple answer, honestly, love. I was in a relationship with a Brazilian girl, a girl from Minas Gerais, and I wanted to show a little bit of interest in her culture. I really didn't know anything about Brazil before, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool if I could learn a little tudo bem, a little te amo, that kind of thing. And then eventually it just kind of like kept going, and I was like, wow, I like this. And so I decided to keep studying. And then there was another surprise, because I decided to start teaching English as a second language to Brazilians. So it really helped me out professionally. It was a differentiator that I'm a gringo that speaks Portuguese. So the short answer, love, and also, I don't want to say money, but like my professional life, it definitely helped me professionally too.
So I decided to learn Portuguese after a missions trip I took to Brazil as a teenager, and I just fell in love with everything. The people, the food, the culture, and I made a promise to one of the kids at the orphanage that I was going to learn Portuguese, and I'm not one to break my promises. So I did.
So how did I learn Portuguese? Well, I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't from my girlfriend at the time, because she was kind of like, I don't know, I don't really like want to take the time to teach you, which I totally understand. Teaching is like, it's something not everybody wants to do, so I totally get it. In the beginning, I was using Duolingo. I used Duolingo like crazy, like every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, I would do my little Duolingo lesson, and then I would try to read some things. I would try to like speak to people, to Brazilian friends, and the big thing is just like putting yourself out there as much as possible. I think it can be embarrassing, especially in the beginning. You're saying stuff wrong and it's just like you're not great at the language, obviously. But yeah, originally I used Duolingo a lot, and then just put myself out there as much as possible, talking to people and using the language.
So when I first started learning Portuguese back in 2008, they didn't have all the resources that they had today, but they did have a few, and I took advantage of them. So the first thing that I did was go to my good old-fashioned library and look in their foreign language section, and they had the beginning section of the Pimsleur method. So I rented that out and I went through the beginner part, and after I completed that, I went back to see if they had the intermediate and advanced, which they did not, but bless the hearts of the librarians, they bought it for me. So I was able to go through that. I also learned a lot from finding Brazilian music and translating the lyrics, learning the lyrics, watching movies that had Portuguese translations or subtitles. Live Mocha was an awesome website at the time, which they don't have anymore. Now they have like Duolingo. They didn't have that back when I was learning, but Live Mocha had like exercises and lessons, and then you could chat with natives and grade each other's exercises. It was really helpful. I actually met my husband on there, so that's a fun fact. But that was a really good resource. Some podcasts from the University of Texas at Austin. They had a really good podcast that I enjoyed. I would get an email with Portuguese words of the day, and also books. So this is one of the ones that I really liked. Ponto de Encontro. I couldn't find, it was really hard for me to find a course. I really wanted to sign up for a course to take in Portuguese, and there really wasn't any for like a high school kid without actually like going to a college, and even then a lot of colleges didn't have Portuguese. So that didn't end up really being an option for me at the time, but I did find these textbooks, which I loved. I also have some other books, some like little translation books, dictionaries, English to Portuguese, and things like that. So a wide variety of resources, but of course the best thing is practice. And I practiced a lot speaking with natives, just online chatting. I would find a lot of people and make friends, and that was really the best way to learn. Putting words you don't know into Google Translate, you gotta be careful because sometimes it doesn't translate exactly correct, but that was definitely helpful a lot of the time. And then the absolute best thing was getting submerged into the Brazilian language and culture. So going to Brazil and being forced to speak only in Portuguese, that has been tremendous, tremendous.
Some of the challenges with Portuguese, meu Deus. So the pronunciation's a little bit strange, first of all. Like, I think for Gringos, like, the pronunciation of Portuguese can be a little bit, like, kind of surprising. So that was a little bit of a hump to get over, but not crazy. Especially the "ão," like São Paulo. Like, obviously, I think we all have a little bit of a challenge with that one at first, that pronunciation. But then outside of that, the genders, you know, knowing when to conjugate the genders correctly, you know, o, carro, a natureza, that kind of thing, male, female. And then the verb conjugations. Damn, the verb conjugations, there's so many, right? So that was another one that was like, oh, I still get it wrong until today, but thankfully I'm a lot better today than I have been in the past. So yeah, those were kind of my three big challenges with Portuguese.
So there are three things that stick out in my head as like big struggles that I had. First one was that I was the only person in the US that I knew that spoke Portuguese. I didn't know anybody else that was in person that spoke Portuguese. So if I wanted to talk with somebody and practice, it had to be online, either through a chat or sometimes I could get somebody on the video camera and we could chat that way, but it was mostly just typing. So that was a bummer. The second one was that there wasn't a lot of resources available. It was like digging for gold sometimes, trying to find a good resource. And then the third one was, I was in high school when I started learning. I was like just going into the 9th grade. So at the same time, I started learning Spanish, taking Spanish in high school, and it frustrated me because my heart wasn't with the Spanish, it was with Portuguese, and I really wanted to learn the Portuguese, and I felt like learning Spanish at the same time was like a roadblock because I had to learn the Spanish for school, but it was confusing my head so much with the Portuguese, and I would get words mixed up, and especially with the word corn, for some reason, maize and milho, I would always swap them, and it was just really frustrating. I remember being so happy the day that I didn't have to take Spanish anymore, and I could just focus on the Portuguese. It was a relief.
I would say my struggles that I still have today, honestly, I still struggle with the genders sometimes because it's like, it's so easy to mix them up and not say it correctly. And also the verb conjugations. I'm going to stick with that, honestly. I'm going to say that today, like, because most of the things I'm pretty comfortable with and I can always like kind of teach myself. So I feel pretty comfortable with a lot of the concepts in Portuguese. But the verb conjugations, like sometimes there's like new ones that I still don't even know how to use. Like for example, like pudesse, like eu pudesse fazer isso. And I really don't know when to use pudesse. I know like eu pode or poderia, I know those, but pudesse is a different one that I just still don't know. So yeah, that continues to be a learning process, is understanding the verb conjugations.
Oh, there's lots. So first of all, language learning is a journey, right? So there's always going to be new scenarios that you find yourself in that you haven't been exposed to that vocabulary yet. So every so often I will find myself in one of those scenarios and it's very frustrating. So still building up vocabulary in different areas of life. Also slang. Every region has its own slang and there's so many idioms and stuff like that. So I've learned a bunch and I'm still learning more. Also, speaking with people from Portugal, European Portuguese. Depends on the person. Some people I can understand seamlessly. Others, it's tough. I don't really know what the difference is. I don't know if it's their accents or if they're using different vocabulary or what, but sometimes people from Portugal are hard for me to understand. I'm also a very fast speaker by nature, so sometimes I have to remember to slow down because I will speak faster than I am thinking and I can't keep up, and then I end up getting a little stuck in my speech at times. I've made a lot of progress with understanding movies and songs, but there are still some songs and still sometimes in movies where I get a little bit lost. I think one of the things that's really challenging is not understanding the context. So if you're having a conversation with somebody one-to-one, you know what the topic's about. Where if I'm sitting down and all of a sudden a movie comes on, or I walk in the middle of a movie that my husband's watching, and I don't know what's going on, it can be hard sometimes to pick up where they are and figure it out. And the last thing I feel can still be a struggle for me at times is parties. When there's large groups of people together and everybody's talking over each other, sometimes it is hard for my brain to focus on what everybody's saying. And I can't keep up and I get lost in the conversation because it's too many people speaking at once and I don't even know where to go with my mind.
So an embarrassing moment that I've had, man, there's so many, how do I choose just one? But one that I specifically remember is one time I was in Belo Horizonte in Minas Gerais at my girlfriend's house, my ex-girlfriend's house, and I was talking to her mom about something, and I was like pointing out a building. Actually, there was like one of the buildings in her neighborhood was brown, and I said, aquele prédio moreno, and like in that case you should say marrón for brown, because moreno is more like your skin tone. And she started laughing so hard, and I was like, what? I was like, what's so funny? And like the entire family was like cracking up. So it was embarrassing, it was funny at the same time, but again, that's just like part of the process, right? We have to like be prepared for those silly moments that we're gonna have.
Definitely the phrase, I'm excited. So when I was visiting my family down in Brazil, and I would be excited about something, because in English, I'm excited means woohoo, you know, like I'm excited. So I would say to them, estou excitada, I'm excited, which is not the same translation in Portuguese. Excitada or excitado means turned on. So I pretty much told my future in-laws and whoever else was in the scene at the time, I don't really remember at this point who, but I basically told everybody that I was turned on. So yeah, awkward.
So how has Portuguese changed my life? That's a cool question. I would say that, for one, like I mentioned earlier, it's really helped me professionally. I think it's a big difference if you're teaching a language to a person and you speak their language. If you're teaching English to a person and you can speak their native language, that just makes a world of difference. So that's been a huge asset to me in my life professionally. Personally, it's so awesome. I mean, I think if you guys like Portuguese, you probably like Brazil. And if you know Brazil, people are so friendly. People want to make, have friendships with you. They want to invite you to their house, have a churrasco, all that stuff. And so that has been huge for me. It's like Brazil would be fun if you didn't speak Portuguese, but it would be a hugely different experience, because like most people don't speak English. So you got to be prepared to communicate in Portuguese. And I feel like I'm able to have a much more authentic relationship with people because I speak Portuguese. I'm able to understand what the person's saying. I'm able to see things through that Brazilian lens a little bit because I speak their language. And so that's been so cool for me. Like to have those Brazilian friendships, it's nice. I mean, I think everybody in this world should be friends with Brazilian people, because it's like, if you know that the word carinhoso, Brazilians are very, very carinhoso, and they show you so much love and affection, even if you don't really know them that well. And so it's really opened up this new world for me in terms of like seeing a different cultural dynamic, really making close relationships with Brazilians, and a big part of that is because I speak Portuguese.
Oh my, it's changed like all of my life. If I hadn't decided to learn Portuguese, I wouldn't be where I am today at all, because through learning Portuguese, I met my husband, so I wouldn't have my beautiful daughter and my husband. I wouldn't have my family in Brazil. We go to Brazil at least every other year. I wouldn't have that if I hadn't decided to learn Portuguese in this exciting, adventurous life. And it's helped me in just so many ways. First of all, it's helped my mind to think differently, and just my perspective on the world has changed. And then in addition to that, I've come into situations where there's somebody who speaks Portuguese and they don't speak English and they need somebody to translate. I'm your girl. Or, you know, in work, like I work in physical therapy, and I've had people who came in and had really bad English, or, you know, didn't really speak English at all, and I've been able to translate for them. So it's been invaluable. Invaluable.
So my two pieces of advice I would give to a fellow learner of Portuguese. First of all, parabéns, that's really cool that you're doing it. So my first piece of advice would be don't give up. Like, I think it's easy to get discouraged with Portuguese because, again, it's like, it can kind of feel like you're running in place for a long time and not really advancing. But if you stick to it, keep with it, you'll get there, and you'll like start to use the language effectively. And it's cool because Brazilians just like love the fact that you speak Portuguese. If you can say tudo bem or oi, that's like something that like a gente vai ficar encantada com isso. Então, yeah, just keep going. If you're really passionate about it, keep going. And then my second piece of advice: go live in Brazil if you have the opportunity. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. Obviously, it's not like they have the ditado "não é para iniciantes," so Brazil's not for beginners. But if you are really focused on improving your Portuguese and you want to have a cool life experience, go live in Brazil. It'll change your life. It'll be fantastic.
My advice for my fellow learners is don't give up. Don't. You will not regret the valuable resource of knowing a second language. And it's a journey. You're gonna have ups, you're gonna have downs, you're gonna have times when you're so frustrated because you feel like you've been studying for so long and there's still so much you don't know. You're gonna feel inadequate, but you're also gonna get on those highs where you feel like, okay, I'm getting this, I'm getting somewhere. When you have that conversation with somebody finally who you can understand them and they understand you. So it's not gonna be a smooth elevator to the top. It's gonna be, woo, a roller coaster, okay? But don't give up. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take years. You're gonna always be developing. I've been here for 12 years and I'm still learning. So don't think of it as A to B, okay? Think of it as a lifelong journey and be kind to yourself. Take it easy on yourself. Be patient and understanding, and you will get there. I believe in you guys.
Amanda, muito obrigado. Obrigado, eu adorei essa experiência para compartilhar meu conhecimento, minha experiência com o português. E if anybody has any questions or wants to connect with me, please check me out on Instagram or YouTube or send me a DM or whatever. So, obrigado, gente. Abraços. Até mais.
I hope you had as much fun in this video as we did. Please don't forget to give this video a like, tag your friends, and hit subscribe both for my channel and for Thomas's, and you'll get awesome educational videos in both English and Portuguese. I'll see you in my next video.